Just to continue the video that I was doing before I was called away to have a photograph taken in the church. Well, we've left there now, and as you can see, there's the rest of the guys gang are carrying that big pot, which we have some leftover food. So what we're doing is we've come now to this place. This is the huge church, Iglesias Ni Cristo, which always builds these absolutely beautiful churches in the cathedral style. There they have accommodation, I'm thinking, for some of the helpers, a guardhouse, rails, railings, fences, yeah. But our team of students that we are supporting on our program, Beth has taken them round. They're going to carry that food down to another community where they'll be able to feed. Now, those big pots that Beth bought yesterday, amazingly they've kept the food hot. That's not a problem for most people in the Philippines anyway. Filipinos traditionally eat the food that they cook cold. It doesn't require for the food to be hot. So they've gone off, but it's a chance for me to talk further about what you could expect if you have met someone and you have no idea of their background, you have no idea of where they live, how they live, and you may be in for quite a culture shock when that happens. Now, I mentioned a friend, Martin. He came, and I think we met him at the port. I can't remember exactly the details, but we met him at the port with his girlfriend, and then we drove at the girlfriend's directions. We went to her house, and on the way I tried to guide Martin as to what he could expect, but of course I had no way of knowing exactly what to expect. But we got to his house, and what I had suggested was that when he meets the parents, he was a younger man than I, and the traditional thing would be to, you would obviously treat the parents with respect, but if he felt that they were that much older than him, then he could take the hand and press it to the forehead, which is a traditional way of showing respect for your elder. That's what would happen, did happen when we went to church just now for our Fidu. If a very small child was with a mother, the mother would encourage the small child to come to me, take my hand and press it to the forehead, and that would be the bless. So they would say, bless. They say to the child, look, come, bless. Now, once we got to the house, it was a house of very modest means, of what you have seen now. That was a house that you've just seen. It's not a made up thing. I asked the pastor if I could use the toilet, the CR, and that's where he took me. Now, something similar was waiting for our friend Martin, and what happened was that the food, when the meeting was through, and bless and talking, just lots of smiling. The parents, I don't remember that they spoke very much English, but of course there's ways of communicating through Martin's girlfriend, and all the parents really want to know is, will their little girl be taken care of, or will the child be no longer a child, a lovely lady, but will she be respected and protected? So once that is over, and we were there with Martin, and this is what would happen wherever you went, no matter what the status in society was of the parents. This is what you're doing. If you were going into something that was as grand as this church, you will be treated in the same way, that they will be looking forward to meeting you. Admittedly, if they were wealthy, then they might want to make their questions more pointed as to what your qualifications are for seeking marriage to their daughter, who if their status was high, then the daughter would be guaranteed of a good life, or at least a good start to life. So they naturally would want to know that you were going to be able to provide the same, and this would be the same no matter where you were introduced, in whatever country. The father and the mother will be there saying, well, how do we know that you're able to afford to be married and have children and provide for them? And that would be the natural thing. So I advised Martin, on the basis of when we were leaving. I tried to make him understand that the lovely meal that they had put on for us, where they did not join us, the parents of Martin's girlfriend did not join us, and this would be the same. It's kind of like they waited on us for dinner, and they stood back and they presented the food and the meal that they prepared with drinks, not alcohol, but with soft drinks. Now, one of the things that you have to understand is that in that particular case, they may have really struggled to put that meal on. Because of finances, and that's what you have to assume. Now, we would eat and we would be appreciative of what we were having, and we would make the usual compliments, and the food was excellent, and we was very well treated and very much respected, and it was a very pleasant time. Now came for us to leave. Now, this is my suggestion, depending on how you, the foreigner, are fixed. And money is always a touchy subject. Some foreigners really struggle with this. They can't go for the supporting the family. It's something that you have to come to terms with, that it is a common saying that if you marry a Filipina, you marry the family. Now, depending on how well you've done your homework, you may have made a terrible mistake. There's always that possibility. But let's assume that you're married into a good family who are not going to make too great a demand on you financially. You know, for Beth and I, it worked out, I think, well, but then I'm totally committed to Beth's family for being my own extended family. And I've said this before, that even though my mother-in-law, because of my age, I'm 82 years old, and she's not 82 years old, but yet I treat her as she is my mother-in-law. That is her status. Now, I consider, brings tears to my eyes sometimes, but these are old men's tears of regret for not for not leading a better life, and I wish now that I had been able to be a better son. It is one of my regrets, but that's why they're old men's tears. Old men's tears are shed because of things that you can no longer change. There's no way that you can change what has happened. I remember watching an interview with an actor called Jack Palance, or Jack Palance, and Jack Palance was famous for doing really bad man characters. He was a killer, he was a gunfighter, he was a killer. He was in the movie Shane, and he was the cold-blooded killer that killed the farmer in a totally unequal quick draw duel, and he shot the farmer dead. And I remember seeing him in later life, and he was writing poetry, and they asked him if he would, the interviewer asked him if he would read some of his poetry, and he read one of his poems, and while it was obviously something that meant a great deal to him, his realizations, I guess, about his life, and he cried old men's tears. Well, back to Martin's, and there were no tears there. He had found a very lovely girl, was very happy. I think it's going well. I hear from people occasionally, they keep up with me, and I think Martin has been in touch fairly recently. I think he's now contemplating being able to come back to the Philippines after the quarantine madness that we've been going through. They're gradually opening up, and it will become possible soon. And my final advice, as we were talking really about the money, that's the last thing, and my advice was that you should fold however many thousands of pesos you can manage. At that time, I think it was 1,000 or 2,000 pesos. Back then, it was a few years ago now, but let's say it's today. You would take 3,000 to 5,000, and you know, in a trick I watched a band leader do years ago, he used to be able to fold banknotes so that they were very small, and I've since used that same formula. Fold and sharply crease several thousand peso notes, and you can fold them so that they fit into the palm of your hand, and then without making a big scene of it, you put it in your right hand and you shake hands with the mother, not with the father. You present the money in that little tightly folded pack, and you just press it into her hand, and no words are necessary. You don't make a show of giving a big gift. You just shake her hand, and you squeeze the money into her fingers. And that was the way that I suggested that Martin should do it, which I believe he did. So anyway, you've seen the kind of situation you might find yourself in. You may be working with, as a foreigner guy, you may be working with several lovely Filipinas, and have no idea of the heritage that they came from. Well, look at the video again. The dirt floor, tiny house, basic sanitation, basic kitchen, and that may be the heritage, that may be the background of the lovely woman that is speaking such good English and doing a great job in the UK or the US, and unbeknownst to you, that's where she came from. If you formed a relationship with her and went home, that's what would be waiting for you, possibly. So, thanks for listening, and bye for now.